Greeks open up the next turn, and this is turn 7, I guess, with the initiative, and end up triggering this little group here, pushing further in. You can see they've basically just plowed that hole a little bit wider. But there's some hoplites running back for a number of reasons. Some of them were in position. Oops, I haven't finished those. Some of them are in position where they have to check their tactical quality, like this guy. And others, though, are paying the price of advancing through a bunch of missile units, which every time they advance, they take fire. Assisting a nearby target who's throwing missiles at you was just turned out to be too much for me. And given that the Persians did not get a chance to recover, the Spartan line has marched forward. I didn't move these guys forward. I'm keeping them as something of a guard against the Cav, which I still have to redistribute those hits on. I'm almost out of route markers from 2 games already. That's going to be a painful situation when it starts to happen. I'll start sharing counters and everything again, but yeah, I just really want to break this. Now, this is not going to be as easy to break as these light infantry formations, so we'll see whether the hoplites, they have the advantage hitting in most cases, except there's like 1 or 2 heavy infantry in here, I think. I don't know if they're on the front line. Had trouble getting everything. They're slower, so I had trouble moving them. They got the mediums here. I don't know if there's any heavies. And it turned out that was no trap. At least it doesn't look like it. The weakened condition of the Persians made them really, really ripe targets for the Spartans, and they just shoved across. They took hits going across the stream, up the hill, all that kind of crap, and they're not in great shape right now. We'll see what the counter blow can be. The problem is the Spartans have to choose between attacking, trying to rally the Persians have to choose between trying to rally the massive routed amount of units, which are just going to go running off otherwise, or I guess trying to recover guys behind, which they can do in conjunction with an attack. By attack, they probably just mean sit there and fire. The Spartans have some units that are pretty close to the breaking point. The climbing the hill they would have broken from if the game didn't have specific rules saying, look, troops that have gained the combat advantage are not going to just fall off that hill in a rout after they succeed. I think some of the old systems did that. I seem to remember that kind of stuff from SPQR. Interesting situation here. The Asian infantry got the next actual activation. The Greeks got a momentum that they failed to take. They're in a position where they're engaged here, and I guess they can't fight because they're just archers. But, well, maybe I cheated, maybe I didn't. The Greek leader got killed. His replacement's over here. There was no cost to him getting killed except that the replacement is less effective, so we're going to have a lot of out-of-command hoplites, but we would anyway because he was engaged. The choice that I was faced with is, well, what kind of order do I want to make? There was a bunch of routed units here, and I chose to do a rally operation rather than recovery of the couple of units back here and this guy who have a few cohesion hits against them. I can't do anything about the guys in the line. They're just firing, except for this one, who I guess is paralyzed. He's not allowed to attack. He's not allowed to fire, I don't think. So that's all I can do with him. And so the question was, which would I get more advantage out of? And, well, I got absolutely nothing good out of trying to rally. Ended up losing some units and having them convert to point losses in the route chart early. That's no big deal. I don't mind any of that. These guys were lost anyway. They're going to run to the edge of the map and turn into points anyway. But my hope was to prevent some of that because I didn't have a whole lot that I could recover. I think I made the right decision. It just didn't work out well there. Crap, it didn't charge again. Damn it. Cav, starting to cross the river here. They're going to need to recover before they go any further. They're somewhat protected by the Persian infantry here. I removed the engaged markers that were marking these guys as zeros. I think they may have prevented them from crossing the river. I thought maybe they were Cav or something. Yeah, whatever. Then we moved over here, and the Persian Greek allies and mercenaries marched forward. And you can see they got shattered over here on the side. Even though I threw some peltasts in to take some of the pressure off the big hoplite phalanxes, because when hoplites start running, bad things are happening. Those, I hope I haven't got one here. No, this is light infantry. Those guys, when they start running, you got to recover them right away or they're gone. And that's going to help clear up some of the congestion, especially among especially the lack of routed counters that I have on the board, except there aren't that many hoplites routing here. But yeah, because you can see I've got a lot of sharing going on there. But yeah, these three, I made the choice because the leader is so crappy. He's only got a 0. He's got a 1 in 10 chance of succeeding in rallying stuff, to instead improve the morale of units, reduce their cohesion hits, and back line back here. And that meant this guy, who I think was the routed unit, didn't get a chance to rally. But now we got more routing, and, well, we're going to start paying some prices for those in terms of the points. So far, the only route points that have really been disappearing largely are... wonder why these guys died. Oh, attempts at rallying. The only guys who've been disappearing for the Greeks have been the skirmishers. Largely a matter of, yeah, I don't want to take that extra hit. That'll increase my chance of routing, whatever. So some of them went because a hoplite unit routed. We do have, I think, some Greek hoplites here running, and those are going to be equally problematic in terms of having to recover. The difference being this leader's a little bit better at rallying units, but I may choose not to with him as well, simply because, yeah, 20% chance, or I can gain a guaranteed benefit on a lot of units, you know. Okay, well, the Persian infantry did a rally action, and most of that didn't really work. We got some more units over here, some more losses over on the track. But we did get one successful rally and a bunch of things that didn't get destroyed. So I guess it's not too terrible. But again, I could have recouped a lot of strength points on my units. I just felt like so much was routing. I would definitely get some rallies. One of the rallies was a successful rally that then put too many hits. I rolled a 9, that put 5 hits on a unit that only had 5 tactical quality, so that got destroyed as well. On the bright side, some of the archer fire, you can see it routed a couple of those hoplites, and it weakened some of the ones in here, so that's kind of cool. The Medians came next, and I would not normally use their leader. He's not very good for rallying, but in this case, my whole army was basically routed. I mean, everything in here. And I got a relatively remarkable string of successes. I also lost quite a few Medians, pretty much everything there in that little section. And you can see my points are down to, 185. I'm actually below the Greeks at this point. A little bit of archery fire, mainly the Median forces have collapsed, but at least I'll have something in the back lines here that I can try to reform and create into, another layer that could do flank attacks if the Greeks try to roll up from the center, the two sides of the Persian army. At least there'll be something there, right? Kind of makes me wish I kept my Cav in reserve, except Cav hitting front on is so pointless against hoplites. I certainly don't want to do that. These are not heavy Cav. These are all light Cav. Most of them are missile, which is okay. They can do kind of harassment type actions. Let's see if I can remember what I did, because you know, I normally have been kind of coming back after every action, but I don't like doing that. But I can't play straight through a number of actions usually. But here, I did the Greek right center, which is this unit. Now, I'm sorry, not this part. This unit here. Their commander is over on the wounded chart, which means they couldn't do a number of actions with any value, such as rallying or something like that. So a lot of their troops are just going to come off the board. But they did launch something of an effective counterattack down here with what they could do still. Largely, though, that didn't help much. Persian momentum I used with the Persian infantry. Got a fairly successful rally. You can see there's a number more of these in play. But, again, added more units to the dead pile. And the points are getting pretty bad. We're down to 170 versus nearly 190 for the Greeks. That's going to change real soon, though, because there are some routed hoplites that are coming off at the end of this. The final thing was the Greek left here. I didn't move these guys. I think I did a rally action, as indicated by that, and some engagement over on this side. These no PWs are just routed markers for now. I'll have plenty of routed markers as soon as the hoplites come off the map, which is what I'm going to be doing now, just some cleanup between the turns. Bring that leader back on, etc. And as we roll into the 8th turn, and I try to figure out where to put this guy, he kind of needs to keep these guys in command as well as these, and that's going to be hard because he only has a range of 3. Gosh, I think it's better to have this line in command than the other. You can see the field's cleared up a little bit. A lot of those routed units, especially on the Greek side, are gone. On the Persian side, they got a long way to run, is basically what it comes down to before they get charged. Those are points that are in the bank for the Greeks if they can hold out. And that can't be right. We're at about 130 each, which is pretty damn close so far still. Again, though, the Greeks have a lot more points in the bank. If this doesn't escalate quickly, the Persians are going to take a big hit from the routing units that they have on the field currently. This turn 8 or whatever, opened up with tied initiative. I drew one. It was the Greek right center command. And this thing's pretty hosed. I was too close to things that had archery capability to recover any of the units that needed recovery. But unfortunately, the stuff's so bad off that when it struck forward, it either routed immediately from bowfire, or on the advances routed from the bowfire. So you see both sides kind of running from each other. Now this is worse news for the hoplites because they disappear more quickly. And, you know, there's still a lot of points on both sides, but there's a lot of room for the Persians to be retreating and kind of say, well, I'm okay for a while. So as long as the casualties are accelerating the way they seem to be, it could be troublesome for the Greeks. It's an interesting situation. We already have a lot of these hoplites running into trouble here. And the Persians follow up with what amounts to the first rally action, recovery action. So many of these were very close to breaking. I don't want to fail, you know, on first contact or whatever, or due to skirmishers. I don't want to have routes for that. So that helped with them. The Medians, I went with another rally action. Probably a bad idea because it sunk me down to 105. Just because there's always this thing, if you're going to rally your troops, there's a chance you're going to end up destroying more of your troops than you do recovering. The problem is I've got this hole in my line. Of course, the Greeks also have a hole at the same point. It's kind of interesting. Both sides, the center's pretty much collapsed. And in both cases, we get a lot of bow fire. The Medians did a better job of shooting up some units, I guess, although they got some pretty bad results down in this area. You can see the low ammo marks. Those are kind of problematic, to tell you the truth, especially this guy who's right engaged. But these hoplites are going to go charging in and crush what's in the side there, I assume. I slowed down, and I don't think I even played a turn at all yesterday. It made it hard coming back today. I made a lot of errors. To begin with, my draw from the chit pull, I ended up activating the Greek left when it was a Greek right unit that came up. And I was kind of thinking, wow, it's odd that the right's all the way over there. And then I said, oh, no, that's not the same color. This kind of color instead of that purplish. I just left it in play. Both chits were in the cup. It could have been a draw either way. Honest mistake and all. Things didn't go... Son of a bitch. Things didn't go too well for the Greeks. I chose a recovery action. But some of the units were out of command because we were engaged in combat. You can see a couple of units routed out. I made some definite mistakes in terms of... There's something fighting here, and I don't know what happened to it. What the hell is this? I don't know what's going on there. No, I haven't done that either. Yeah, I think I got some combats left I've got to take care of. These guys, I have no idea what I can do with them. They're going to have to engage. And they're not happy about it. And I got to take care of this. So, yeah, I'm not done with the action yet, but it's already not going well. But whatever the difficulties in getting started. Once again, I note the resiliency of the hoplites. For example, here, this attack situation where this hoplite should have broken again, and it did not. And then over here, these guys drove the leader back as well, but on their side they got kind of the worst of all situations with the leader. That's a replacement leader who's wounded. I'd much rather he just die, because he's now at -2 on his range and does nothing else of any value at all. So that was through personal combat, actually. Alright, and I think now we take the rest of the day off from the game while I go to work. I've been playing a stupid video game again, but I'm enjoying it. I'm in the good part of the addiction now, as opposed to the geez, I must finish, and you know, it impacts my life and doesn't do me any good at all. Well, I managed to slip another one in. I had about 15 minutes. But quickly, the right was drawn next, and I did manage to screw up, I think, charging the Persians with some Greek losses there. It's really hard for me to focus today, but I reversed that. This guy was actually in command because he wasn't engaged. Tough choices here, though. You can see a couple of routed hoplite units. And they took... I'm on a damn tether because... They took... Yeah, let's see if we can hold... Hey, it's steady. A couple of those powerful Helot light infantry down with them that wouldn't have possibly fallen. You know, they were very far. It's not like skirmishers with their 2 or 3 points that very quickly collapse. Plus, those things are worth a lot of points, so it's kind of painful to see them dissolve. And then they're routing, which means they're very likely, given, almost assured, given that the momentum's been drawn for the Greeks already with failure, to come off the map. And that's a significant chunk of points. The Greeks are really kind of hurting on points right now. They may want to stop attacking if they can, but it's hard to do because they get themselves into a position like this after advancing. And now the Persians sit there, they shoot them. These guys can't recover. They can't withdraw from combat, really. And they're just stuck there, forced to attack. And they'll be low on TQs and about ready to rout. And there's just nothing you can do about them. I haven't quite figured out how to cope with these masses of archers yet. At first I thought, you know, I'm just going to plow through them and they'll collapse, and they do. But whatever, you know, there's enough depth there that if the entire formation doesn't fall apart like it did here, any resistance is going to shoot you to shit. And hoplites are really resistant to melee combat, but they're not resistant to bow fire, terrain hits, and all that crap. And they end up, you know, taking some serious punishment from stuff that doesn't seem as serious as the melee itself. Okay, we got a few in a row here. Let's see. These kind of brownish purple of the left center that's actually to the right center. I don't know what the hell they did. I did them yesterday. Obviously, they pushed forward. I think they may have done a recovery action as well. But we get a couple of routing hoplites here from whatever was happening. So their whole side is kind of collapsing. I think we lost some of those hoplites to fire over here at one point. I'm not sure though. So let's ignore them. I knew I shouldn't have left one undone overnight. Our next was the Greek allies here, and they definitely did a recovery action. However, they had an engagement with this unit, and this unit was engaged to all three of these units. And it was kind of amazing that it stood for as long as it did. Anyway, this one was pretty worn out, was next to an enemy unit. Instead of climbing the hill, which would have broken them automatically, they stood and tried to take one of these out, but they failed their initial tactical quality. And then this guy finally got beaten by the three he's facing. But the rest of the force started recovering some points so that they're a little bit more effective. Then we went to the Asian infantry down here, which shot up there were these guys who routed, I think, shot up a couple of hoplites that were in place, but did a rally action largely, and that brought the Persians down into the 90s as well. So it's still a pretty close game in terms of absolute points. And you know, there's a lot of hoplites running at this point too. The board position, that thin Greek line, was not quite evaluated correctly in terms of the amount of damage it had on it, and how easily the Persians could drive the remaining units into a routed state. I'm again running out of routed counters. You can see I'm duplicating up again, although the battle is getting definitely a lot smaller. Got to worry about these cav, because if they get down to where my arm was here messing with these wagons, that's pretty much it for the Greeks. That's 10, 20, 30 more points off the Greek army if those run, if they get attacked. If I can get them off the board, well, that would be great, but I think I need a leader down there to do that. I realized I made a big error on the last turn, but it probably wouldn't matter. When the Persians got their momentum, or sometime during one of the activations here, the Greeks really should have trumped in. Now let's see if they would have succeeded, because yeah, they would have succeeded. They lost the game because of that big line of Spartans that were running. They were probably not going to recover too many of them, but they just took 90 cohesion hits. It was at 95 because I said, you know, the hell with this unit. It's not gonna be coming back. Let's just count it as routed. And then I realized, well, the game's about over. I was only at 87 points and 90 in just lost hoplites. I think the Greeks deserve to lose here, though. Before the end of the turn, the Persians came up, shot up some of those routing hoplites. Those guys were not going to be in good shape. They were going to get shot at again next turn. The Persian left flank here was pretty powerful against them. And a lot of that had to do, I don't know, a decent amount of it had to do with the fact that the helots were incorporated into the phalanx units, because that made them much, much more vulnerable in a way that skirmishers aren't made more vulnerable tremendously. Anyway, that is the end of Plataea. This time in a Persian victory. It feels like a pretty close battle, one that can go either way. For something this large, that's kind of impressive, actually. Most of these larger ancient battles have a significant amount of one-sidedness to them. The Persians definitely have, you know, a different way of handling the battle than the Greeks do. The Greek, even with the split down hoplites now, I don't regret that at all, because I saw how quickly these phalanx hoplites dissolved. They're kind of fragile. Yeah, they have more cohesion individually, so they're more likely to succeed at a die roll, like sticking around for the combat, you know, where we had 3-1 against them, just stood there like a rock. But they only take so many cohesion hits total, and the archers are able to destroy them more easily than melee is. Archers are able to inflict cohesion hits at a high rate, whereas the melee is going to inflict cohesion hits also at a rate, but the hoplite gets sort of its saving throw against that in general. A couple of things that I've seen in the system, and I'll try to remember these when I get around to a review, but I've got more battles to play, that I don't really like, have to do surrounding the in-column movement. So, well, not so much the in-column. Only hoplites can go in column. That allows them to avoid terrain penalties in terms of cohesion hits. No other infantry can do that, and anything except the skirmishers, I believe, takes cohesion hits for a lot of different terrain effects, including any levels. You can argue, look, the hoplites were the only formed units on the infantry field, and that makes sense, and I'll agree with that. What I don't really agree with is that if you walk your hoplites, if you get the walk result over here on the advanced to combat, the hoplites don't take cohesion hits from that either. And you have no opportunity to do that under any circumstances except when you get that die roll. Of course, you don't have an opportunity to get the run either, but that kind of makes sense. To me, the idea of, there's the enemy, let's slow down and be real careful approaching him and not get tired, doesn't make sense. It strikes me that regular order marching would be just as efficient as whatever it is going on at that point. Now, you could argue, well, they're normally trotting. Yeah, okay, but what if I only move 2 with them? You know, should I be able, and I'm not engaging in combat? Because that you can walk into combat and still not take the cohesion hits for terrain. And that all kind of disturbs me. It feels like something's not quite right there, and needs to be tinkered with. And actually, what I would suggest is get rid of the advantage for walking. I know they kind of want to make a bonus for it to offset the penalty that your units are moving too slowly, but honestly, they're just slow, that's all. And I think that that would resolve any issues I have with that. I know there are other issues with the game that have been brought up. I haven't really been following them. I try to give my own virginal view more, as much as I can, especially when I'm looking at something to a significant degree. All right, we're going to send the second of the Plataea videos up. I'm not sure when I'm going to start another one of these. Just a matter of I'm addicted to a video game right now.